everybody out there in podcast land. You're listening to another episode of Never Seen It. My name is Trent. I am sitting here, as always, with my wife, Betsy.
I do not have a permanent address in podcast land.
You need to pay your taxes in podcast land, goddammit.
I will not pay my taxes in podcast land. This is a land of opportunity and dreams.
Tax avoision or evasion?
Evasion?
Already off topic. Betsy, we are here to celebrate the one and only Jeff Bridges by talking about Jefftember. It's Jefftember all September. As I said before, you should have already ran to your calendars, scratched off the word September, and written Jefftember because that's what we're doing this month. It's week 3, and we're going back in time to 1971 to watch a movie that neither of us have actually seen yet. We're covering The Last Picture Show, a movie that Jeff Bridges was nominated for. It was his first nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Now, as I said, Betsy, neither of us have seen this, but I know you know a lot more about this movie than I do.
Yes and no. So I kind of told you off air last week when we announced we were doing this. I listened to a podcast last year, 2 years ago, I don't even know when it was now, called You Must Remember This. It's an old Hollywood podcast.
Yeah.
And the host of the show did an entire series about Polly Platt. Polly Platt was a very, very well-known production designer. She was the first woman in that guild or union, whatever they call that group.
Yeah.
She got nominated for multiple Oscars, and she was married to Peter Bogdanovich. So there was a whole section talking about their relationship and The Last Picture Show and all of the behind-the-scenes stuff, what was going on with the two of them.
And Peter Bogdanovich being the director of this movie we're covering.
Yes, and he apparently, I don't know if it happened before or while the movie was happening, he started seeing Sybil Shepherd.
Yeah, he had an affair with Sybil Shepherd while he was married.
While he was still married.
The production designer of this movie.
Yes, so that's the thing I know about The Last Picture Show. I have never actually watched it, despite it being on not the first edition, but it was in the top 100 of the AFI 100 list the second time they did it.
Okay.
So this is one of those movies that's been on my radar for a really long time, and I knew Jeff Bridges was in it, extremely young. This will be the youngest I've ever seen him in a movie.
Yep, same here.
I know Sybil Shepherd is in it. I kind of don't know what this movie is, though.
So based on the trailer that I looked at here, it is kind of a coming-of-age tale. It is a period piece. This actually takes place in 1951, so 20 years prior to when the movie came out.
That makes sense. And I know it's in black and white, so that probably is an aesthetic choice based on that time frame.
Yep.
But yeah, you're already ahead of me because I haven't even seen a trailer for this.
Yeah, and just a cursory look at the information about the movie. The movie was nominated for 8 Oscars, and it won 2 of them.
This was a big deal in 1971.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying I know many little things around the movie, like the impact the movie had on these careers of these actors, on the people making the movie, how it fared at the Oscars. I know things like that. I think maybe Cloris Leachman or somebody is in this movie too.
I think you're right.
I think she got nominated also. But yeah, the content of the film, nope. Don't know what this is. I told you that a couple weeks ago. This series is basically movies I know Jeff Bridges is in, movies that I have known for years exist, and I don't actually know what they are. I cannot describe what they are to you.
Except for the one that we're going to do next week that most people have seen, including you, but I haven't. But we're going to cover that after we watch The Last Picture Show. So we're going to go watch the movie, and we'll be right back. And that was The Last Picture Show. The podcast is done. There's no more movies to ever watch again. We're done.
It was the last one. It's in the title.
That's right. No, I'm lying. Betsy, what did you think of that one?
Trent, Jefftember is shaping up to be my favorite series we have done this whole year.
Oh, wow.
Because I really liked this movie. Okay, so The Last Picture Show, I said in the intro, this is one of those movies I have known about. I have known it existed forever. Like, I just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And up until today, I had never seen it, hence us covering it here. And when it began, I'm sitting here going, okay, this is real slow and nothing is happening and I'm not sure what's going to happen.
Or if anything will happen at all.
Right. But at a certain point, the film gets under your skin and it just sort of crept up on me in an unexpected way. And by the end, I just was alternating between having this kind of serene smile on my face and being emotional. I'm 3 for 3 these fucking Jeff Bridges movies getting me emotional.
I feel like I kind of just settled in. At a certain point, I was talking to you while the movie was going on. I'm like, okay, what's going on?
You needed clarification.
They're not really saying anything here. It's just they're going about their day. What's going on? But then I just kind of let it kind of wash over me here. I settled into the movie, into the couch and everything like that. And yeah, Betsy, the movie that I was comparing this to, and it's a movie I think we covered last year for our Decade series. Maybe it was the year before. I can't remember when it came out. Oh, yeah, it was 2023 because the movie came out in 73. That is American Graffiti.
I was waiting for an opportunity to talk about American Graffiti because these are two very similar kinds of movies as far as like who made the movie, when the movie takes place, who the target demographic of the film is. But the thing that I was discovering was where you and I both felt like American Graffiti was not for us. We couldn't connect with that movie.
Yep. I couldn't connect with the characters. I thought the movie was boring. And yeah, I just felt like American Graffiti was built for a generation out of time. Like, I cannot relate to anybody in this. I can't relate to what they're going through. None of that. However, a movie that was made 2 years prior, about the same generation of people, this is so much better than American Graffiti.
And I think the thing that makes the difference for us, Trent, is this is a small town. This is a small town in a state, at least in 1952, where, you know, people don't come from here. This is like podunk nowhere, Texas.
Yes.
Okay. They're always looking for something to do. And there's about 3 things they can do. And they just rotate because there's nothing else for them. You and I both grew up in small towns in South Dakota. So even though your town was bigger than mine, mine is significantly closer to this experience.
You definitely had a more similar kind of town makeup as this movie has. I grew up in a city of about 24,000 people. It was a real ass town. However,
yes, but in South Dakota terms.
I know. You grew up on a farm that is adjacent to a couple of smaller towns. Like, what was the population of your town when you were growing up?
My hometown is 3,000. So the town in The Last Picture Show is clearly significantly smaller.
Much smaller. There's maybe 25 people who live here.
But this is definitely a place that exists in South Dakota. There are these towns where you graduate with maybe 20 people, 30 people. That's the entire senior class. You know, they have a football team, but they're fucking terrible. They have a basketball team, but they're fucking terrible. Everybody in this town knows everybody's business.
Yep.
And for anyone to ever leave, it's kind of amazing. And to set it in 1951, the way that people want to leave is the way that people lived their lives in the 50s. You got married. You got married because it was something to do, not because you loved them, not because you wanted to get married, but it was the thing you did.
There was nothing else to do as far as like improving your station in life, as far as taking the next step in your evolution of being whoever it is that you're going to be. If you stay in this fucking town, you're going to be stuck there forever.
There are no opportunities. There's nowhere for you to go. It's not even living in the past. It's just existing in an uninspired present. And the only
That's a great way to say it.
The only people who get out It's like Dwayne goes to fucking Korea. He joins the military at like a really terrible time to join the military as far as America is concerned. You know, Sybil Shepherd's character, she's going to college because she's one of the few kids in town with any money.
She's a rich kid because her dad owns the oil field or the oil refinery or whatever the fuck he does. And she has an opportunity here, even though her mom is just telling her, no, you need to go off and marry a rich husband and be like me.
That was also the time where people, like, well, women in particular, women went to college to meet husbands. That was where you got the good husbands. And the second you locked one down, you dropped out.
Yeah, because why would you need to keep on going there?
Trent, I don't know if I've ever talked about this on the podcast, but when I was in college, I did phone-a-thon. I was one of the students that would call alumni and ask them for money, ask them to give money to the school that you attended, that you went to. And the number of times we had all these little files, like their name and what year they were, like their class year and what they were, you know, declared as a major, little details about them. So you could have a conversation before you ask them the thing you're calling for. And anytime we called groups of women from like the 1950s and 60s, because this is, 25 years, not quite 25, but pretty close to it, 20 years ago, so many of these women, when you'd talk to them, you would ask them, oh, like what year did you graduate or what was your major? And they'd say, oh, I never graduated because I went there and I met a husband. Like that literally happened so many times to the point that these women were used to that mentality that when you would call them, one of them actually asked my friend, so do you have a husband?
Yep.
My friend who is 19 years old and a lesbian. No, she did not have a husband.
Yeah.
But that's the mentality of this generation where you just did that. That's what you did.
And these are the same women that would refer to themselves as Mrs. My husband's name.
Yeah. Yeah, I've tried that a few times. Like, I think I've maybe said that as referencing myself as your wife in that capacity, maybe 4 times, and it always feels icky. I don't like it.
I always had a problem with it when I saw mail coming to my mother.
You're reduced to being your husband's wife, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's a very antiquated way of doing things, and I understand why it feels icky to me now. But to Sybil Shepherd's character in this movie, that's a big fucking win. And that's like her only ticket out of this town.
You know, as long as we're talking about other movies that this is reminding me of, we have to talk about Nebraska.
Okay.
Because Nebraska is another one of these movies. It isn't a period piece, but it is shot in black and white in order to invoke the feeling that you have when you are in a town like this.
We have never covered Nebraska, but we have referenced Nebraska for this very reason.
If you have never seen Nebraska and you would like to know what it is like to be in towns that Betsy and I kind of grew up in, but not really grew up in, but we visited a lot.
We know those people.
We know the people in that movie. We know those towns that they're driving through and everything under the sun in that movie. However, it's the same sentiment in that movie as this movie. These people who live here will never, ever change. There's no modernity. There is no improvement. There is no upward mobility whatsoever. If somebody from the outside moves to the town, it is one of the biggest news stories of the decade because no one ever moves out of there. So these people, they just get stuck in their rut. They do the same thing for 40 years, then they retire and they're hanging out with the same people over and over and over again.
Well, what made the movie really sad for me was, they've got this guy, Sam, who owns 3 businesses. He's like the major business owner on the main drag of town. And when he dies, it completely fundamentally shifts the town. The town
dies.
The town completely changes. The death of this one person in this small town has a really big impact. There's a lot of ripples that come from it. He had 3 businesses. He had a pool hall, he had a movie theater, and he had a restaurant. When he dies, the empire gets split up. So he leaves the pool hall to Sonny. He's a fucking kid. Like, why would you do that? That's a bizarre choice. He leaves the restaurant to the woman who's been running the restaurant. And then ultimately, the movie theater closes because the woman running it doesn't know how to run it. And that scene where she says, I just don't know how to do this, and is getting really upset about it, made me really upset because I have talked about this a few times off of the podcast. I don't know if I've ever said it on the podcast. Even though I grew up in this small town, my town was like 3,000 people. And, when I was growing up, it was probably even less. But we had a movie theater. We had a single screen movie theater. And I look back at that time of my life now and I realize how lucky we were that there was just, it was kind of like this. It was an old couple. They lived in an apartment above the movie theater and it was just the two of them. I don't even think they had any staff to my recollection. They had like the old timey Coke bottles where you had to snap the lids off. It was very, very retro movie theater, but it was in my little town. And most small towns in South Dakota do not have a movie theater. So when I'm watching The Last Picture Show, there's something with this element of it that really spoke to me, because if that had closed, like there were times it did, like it shifted management. I think the husband died and the wife couldn't run it or didn't want to run it by herself. So they sold it to a local guy who had like a few movie theaters, and it had to close because he was gutting the whole theater and they put in new chairs and they redid the bathrooms, and it was months. That was a really weird time for our community when we didn't have a movie theater. So if it had closed completely, that would have been absolutely a disaster for me as a kid.
I mean, it's not only just the effect on the populace who lives there, but it also kind of depresses the rest of the businesses around there, because if people aren't going to go to the movie theater, they may not go to the restaurant next door. They may not go to the bowling alley across the way afterwards. There's such a knock-on effect. If one of these places closes down, why would anybody want to stick around there? Which in this movie, you would think, oh, none of these businesses are really important to this community. It's a pool hall where only men are allowed to hang out, number one. And a restaurant, yes, that is very important. I would say that is the most important one out of the three. And like you said, the movie theater itself isn't necessarily very important, but it is important because you're importing culture from outside of your small town. Think about your life and the life of the people that you knew in the 1980s and 90s before you had access to the internet. The only culture that you knew had to be imported from elsewhere, and whatever culture you had was TV and movies.
And it wasn't at the click of a button. It was you had to make a plan and you had to go do the thing.
Right. It would have been as if the video rental store would go out of business or the library would close, things like that. But the reason why these small towns die is because literally the people who live there die. No one is coming to move there. No one is having a whole bunch of kids who want to stick around there. Most of the kids that we are introduced to in this movie, they all want to get out of there. And by the end of it, really the only one that we're following here is Sonny. Sonny's the last one.
And everyone he knows is gone. Like his mentor, his friends, the people he is kind of a mentor to, they just one by one are disappearing out of his life and he's still there.
Yeah.
So I think really the thing that is connecting the most is just that concept, because I was born in South Dakota. I grew up in South Dakota. I did go away to college, but I came back and I'm still here. Everybody else in my family tends to move away. Like I have another sibling who lives here right now, but I know it's not a permanent situation.
No, they're probably going to be leaving very soon.
Probably very soon. Everybody else pretty much moves. It's a weird feeling, like that feeling of being left behind, even though I wasn't left behind, you know?
Yeah.
But you watch this movie and it sparks feelings. It sparks very familiar thoughts that I've had processing through my brain.
And I think because we have this, I guess, connection, you could call it, to being in small towns and really knowing these people, it connects with us on a deeper level. But think about in 1971, the people coming to see this movie for the first time, they are the same kinds of people who went to see American Graffiti and remember the 1950s. Remember, maybe if you didn't live in town, you would go to town to hang around like they do in American Graffiti.
Yeah, let's go over to the next town over because there's a little bit more to do.
Yeah, that's where you can go and actually spend your money. And again, that's another reason why small towns die. There's nothing to do for young people in these small towns, so they go to the bigger towns and spend their money there.
Yeah, if you think my town was small, my dad's town is still there, and I don't know how it continues to survive at all because it used to have like a bowling alley, and now there's just a big hole in between two buildings, and that's where the bowling alley used to be. There used to be a grocery store, not there anymore. There used to be, I think it's like a bank. There's like a bank there now, and that's about it.
And this is something that people have been talking about here for the past 20, 30 years, Betsy. The loss of a third space. Do you know what a third space is?
Yeah. Yeah, so you have your home life, you have your work, and then you have something else.
Somewhere else that you frequent. So in the case of my parents both met at a bowling alley. They were introduced through my mom's dad, who was a frequenter of the bowling alley, and he kind of pushed them together. It's one of the reasons I'm here today talking to you fine folks. But think about it. Back in the 70s and in the 80s, you not only had these third places for regular ass folks, like the bowling alleys, like fucking bridge clubs even, but think about the guys who came back from war, Korea and Vietnam, the Elks Club and
the VFW.
The VFW, all of these other places that old men would go to, at least, I mean, old men to me anyway. But think about today. Sure, some people, they have a dart league, they have a bowling league sometimes, but you never really hear that much about them anymore.
Most people have something like fantasy football, which is something you don't really get together to do. You might have a draft.
You do it once at the draft, and then you maybe do it again at the very end for the playoffs.
Yeah, or if you watch games together at all, but most people are not that organized.
Well, they do it online.
Or they do it with their friends who live around the country.
Yeah. What people have these days when they do try to hang out is things like Discord, where you can literally get on a call, whether it be just audio or even video. Just a week or two ago, you got on a video call with a bunch of your college friends.
Yeah, we hadn't done one of those probably since 2020 when it was very common.
Right.
We did a lot of that in 2020 because we had nothing else to do.
Right.
But yeah, we did that and we were all like, this feels weird. We haven't done this in quite a while.
But these are the things that we kind of think about and talk about when you look at a small town like this. The reasons why they die are myriad. It's the lack of opportunity, lack of jobs, lack of entertainment, everything under the sun. And I'm really surprised that so many towns that we are aware of, I'm surprised they haven't already died off completely.
And some hinge on the economy, like the one industry that town grew up around. So like here, this little town, it's oil. It's Texas. These guys go get jobs on the oil rig. They go and be grunts and do that. If it's not going to happen because it's Texas. If for some reason the oil ran out or eventually down the road when it does run out because it is a finite resource, what happens to this town? You know, they don't demonstrate it here. Think of the number of movies with coal, like coal mining towns like October Sky, where they're like, the town shuts down. When there's no more coal, the town shuts down. Here in South Dakota, out in the Black Hills, gold. There used to be mines galore.
Totally.
When the gold runs out, they stop mining. It's over.
And think about all the stuff in the Rust Belt. Detroit used to be this fucking bustling city. It was one of the hottest cities in America. But then there was a domino effect of all sorts of different things that happened, and American cars were no longer desirable in a way that they used to be. So a lot of these towns in Indiana and Michigan and Ohio just completely shut down. Manufacturing stopped everywhere, and these small towns just kind of stagnated. They didn't die, thankfully, because a lot of the wages that people were getting paid was enough for people to save. But we don't really do that anymore because nobody gets paid a living wage anymore.
Saving? What are you talking about?
What's saving? Speaking of, we got to pay the bills, so we're going to take a break for a quick word from our sponsor. We will be right back. This season, give yourself the gift you've always wanted. It's not a new car, and certainly not diamond jewelry. It's premium podcasts from the industry's leading connoisseurs of conversation. For only $5 a month, you will receive the most privileged access to their entire catalog. Patreon.com/NeverSeenItPod. Only the best for the discerning listener. So enough talk about all of this depressing stuff because I can't really take it anymore. Let's talk about the man of the month, Jeff Bridges. What did you think about his Oscar-nominated performance?
So I knew going into this, he was not the star of the movie. It was just kind of a question of how much time are we going to get to spend with him? There were chunks where I was like, wait, he left. Is he coming back?
I
Is
had
that
the
it?
same thought. I mean, think about the time frame that we're talking about here. This is 1951. Korea's going on. Is he getting drafted to go to Korea? What's going on there? But it's not until the end of the movie that he leaves to actually go to Korea, so we don't really know what happens to him there. But yeah, I knew he was not going to have a very major role in the movie, and I knew he was going to be pretty young. I think you said he was 22.
He was 22 when he made this. This is by far the youngest I have ever seen him in a movie.
So I'm not going to say that, oh my God, he was so great. I mean, he did a very serviceable job for playing this role. I think he plays this role in a way that is very believable as the friend of this guy who is going through it, and somebody who is maybe a little bit more, dumb is a bad word, but more aloof.
He's a charming roughneck without a lot of prospects. And he's crazy about one girl in particular, and he's got the mindset that we were referring to a little bit ago. He's going to get married to her. You just marry your high school sweetheart. Why? Because I think he's in love with her, but she's definitely not in love with him.
No.
But they haven't gone all the way. She keeps talking about I have never done it before. And then when her mom just says, you should just do it and get it over with and then get it out of your system.
Yeah, sleep with him a few times and then you're going to figure out, well, it's not all that's cracked up to be.
And you don't
have to be stuck with the guy for the rest of your life.
You don't have to marry the roughneck.
Yeah. Because her mom has gone through it before. She married the roughneck, and she's been fucking everybody else who has come into her life.
And JC takes this to heart and basically starts to seduce him. And when we get to this turn in the movie where she's in the car and she's like, oh, I didn't want to leave, but then, takes his hand and puts it on her thigh. That look on his face, this is where we finally get to see him have some moments in the movie. Because the rest of the time before this, he's just sort of also there.
He's just the friend who's hanging out.
He's just the friend. But here, you actually get to see, oh, I'm going to start moving my hand. And then she shoves him away I'm a nice girl, go away from me. Or when they finally do decide we've graduated, we're going to have sex. And she's just standing there and he goes for it and he can't get it up. And he just keeps saying, I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened.
5 times he says, I don't know what happened.
And who knows how long they've actually been together, maybe a few months. But I feel like poor Jeff Bridges here built it up in his mind so much in anticipation of the big moment, because not only do they know what they're going to be doing, all of their friends are also outside waiting for them to be done. They know what they're doing too.
They rented a room specifically for the occasion and everybody's waiting for them because they all have to go to a picnic. We have a group event going on.
Yeah, and you're the last virgins amongst us.
I don't know if that's necessarily true, but it's gonna be...
That's what it comes off as.
But they know what's happening here. They immediately run in, her girlfriends go, How was it? How was it?
Indescribable.
I can't describe it in words. And later at graduation, he's interrupting them singing a song about the state of Texas to lean over and say, I can do it. I can do it.
Give me another shot. I need to do it.
And when he walks out of that room, and they have actually done it, but we don't see any of that, he's just got that goofy ass Jeff Bridges grin.
Just did it, yeah.
So I see it, even at this early time, how much of himself he really does bring to these roles, because he's just a goofy little shit in this too. And then he does get to have some scenes where he is acting. Later on, he leaves because she dumps his ass. She says, well, I just wanted to not be a virgin anymore.
Yeah,
you did it, thanks, bye.
Immediately after that, she's got her eyes set on somebody else, but he doesn't want to be with her because she's still a virgin. So what does she do? She talks her current boyfriend into doing the deed. They do it, and then she kicks him to the curb, and he's all butthurt about it. It's similar to a story that I just told on another podcast. I don't even remember which one it was. But the short version is my college roommate got broken up with by his girlfriend who he was seeing from afar. He was a long distance relationship our freshman year of college. He got all depressed. He dropped out of college, and then he joined the Marines. It's eerily similar to what these people have gone through. And I'm sure a lot of people, this is just a true thing. You don't get to marry your high school sweetheart, so you go off to war.
Well, he didn't do it immediately. He did just go get a job somewhere.
Yeah.
He moved
left
away.
Town. He left town.
But clearly not that far, because he could just show up on a moment's notice because he still knows what's going on. Even though he has removed himself from this tiny town, everybody knows everybody's fucking business, and he finds out that Sonny has been dating his ex-girlfriend.
So he comes back to confront his friend saying, I know all about it, and I was testing you as to like what exactly you've been doing. And they get into a fight, and he busts his eye, and you know, by the end, they come back together because, hey, they're still best friends. And it's the kind of shit that boys like this, it's the kind of fights that they get into. They get into a fight over a girl.
Maybe you don't break a beer bottle in someone's eye, though. That's ill-advised. Did you notice how Sonny's eye actually is different the rest of the movie? I was noticing it after he's kind of having that freak out at the end, and he's just looking, when he's driving down the road looking at the camera, he's got, his left eye is much darker than the right eye.
I didn't notice that. I just noticed the scar.
I was thinking it looked like he had one brown eye and one blue eye, because that's just, you know, on a black and white film, it looks different. But yeah, I think he did have permanent damage from this fight.
I wouldn't doubt it.
But yeah, they come back together because he is going to war. When Dwayne says, yeah, I signed up and I'm going to Korea, they kind of just let bygones be bygones.
Yeah.
Like, he's still in love with this woman, and it's going to take a lot of time for him to get over it. So his method is to join the military and go thousands of miles from home and maybe
hopefully be killed.
Hopefully not get shot. But, you know, that wasn't a really good time for American soldiers, especially in the early days of the Korean War. And they have this night together where Sonny just says, hey, I wanted to say goodbye before you left. Do you want to go to the movie? The theater is closing tonight. And this is such a pivotal moment for Sonny because the girl's gone, his friend is leaving, the movie theater's closing, and all of this is happening simultaneously.
And all of this stuff happening here wouldn't be so bad, but for the fact that he's really only got one or two more connections to this town, the people here anyway. I think the next day when Dwayne goes, yeah, it's literally the next day. Dwayne gets on the bus and goes away. He goes into the pool hole to kind of look at everything, like basically look at this shithole that I'm left with. Then he hears a commotion outside, and it's Billy, who is hit by a cattle truck and dies. Because Billy has some mental problems, he kind of hangs out with everybody. All of the boys around there take care of him. And it's just kind of understood that Billy just needs a little bit of help, but not that much anyway. But this happens right basically in front of him. And okay, Betsy, the one time in this movie that I got angry is this scene right here, where all of the old men are just kind of hovering around this dead body, making excuses about what just happened.
Why was he standing in the road? What was he doing? I just don't understand it. It makes no sense.
That boy ain't right.
No, he isn't, but that's exactly the point. He was sweeping because it's dusty. He shouldn't be sweeping the street, but that's his way of coping with his own existence. He's trying to help the town in what way he can, which is to sweep. And yes, at the beginning of the movie, he is doing it, and it foreshadows what's going to happen at the end. And it's fucking devastating when Billy gets hit by a truck.
But it's just the attitude of all of these old men that don't have any sympathy in the world for the kid, who never really cared about him when he was alive, so they're certainly not going to care about him when he's dead. It's the callousness that they treat the situation, and Sonny having just the worst couple of days of his life. And it's at this moment that Sonny gets into his truck and runs away. To what end? I have no idea. I don't know where he was going or what he had in his mind, other than I need to get the fuck out of this town.
My assumption is it's just that. Like, he's finally had enough. I'm leaving. I gotta get out of here. And he doesn't make it very far before he decides he's got unfinished business. And that's when he goes back to see Cloris Leachman, who he's been blowing off for 3 months.
Yeah. And we haven't really mentioned that whole part of the story yet where she and Sonny, I think her name is Ruth. Sonny and Ruth they have this kind of unspoken thing very early on in the movie, but then because it's a small town and you know everybody's fucking business, the whole town knows that Sonny is shacking up with Ruth. But then the question that I had throughout the entirety of the movie is, why isn't the husband, who is the coach of every team in the school, I guess, why doesn't the husband care? Why isn't the husband ever home? Well, apparently I got my answer in the IMDb trivia, because according to the script and according to probably the book, the husband, the coach, is gay.
They allude to it for just a second.
Just very momentarily. When he's being the coach and the boys are kind of running laps in the gym, he slaps one of them on the ass, which in and of itself is not really a big deal. However, this kind of explains why she's such an unhappy housewife.
It also just goes to show you how differently we treated students in 1951.
Well,
that this guy's just yelling obscenities and telling them all to, stop waving your arms around like a woman and stuff like that. It's just like, cool.
You guys gonna get women looking like that?
Yeah, this is a very effective coaching method. And then he tells Sonny, hey, I could get you out of civics class if you'll take my wife to the doctor, because I just don't want to do that. Basically, he just doesn't want to spend any time with his wife.
He never does.
No. And when Sonny shows up at the house, she is like, oh, didn't he tell you I was coming? No, I thought it was going to be my husband. And she just has all of these moments of, she has been repressing all of her feelings. She clearly is upset her husband is not there. She goes to the doctor. We don't know why she's going to the doctor.
No idea.
We don't know what happened there, because she has to go at least 2 times throughout the course of the movie. I thought maybe it was something like, oh, she can't have a baby. But if it's something like that, where her husband just never touches her and wants nothing to do with her, that makes sense. And that is another common theme throughout the movie. Many people in the film mention how they are unhappily married.
Yes.
They were young, they got married because it's the thing you did. Nobody should be getting married, and they're all fucking miserable.
Yes, that is a very common theme throughout the entirety of the movie. People getting married around 20 years old to whoever they happen to be with at the time.
Who have no life experiences, who don't know themselves, who have never left this town.
Yep.
That's a terrible, terrible recipe for a marriage.
Because at some point, you just kind of get stuck. You get stuck with the person, you probably start having a bunch of kids, and what do? You got no money to move away. That's how people get stuck in small towns like this. And you know what? It's probably encouraged. Not only because, hey, you shouldn't be fooling around with people who are not your husband or your wife or whatever. I'm a good
Christian girl. My mom told me what happens to girls who fool around.
That's right. But you know what? JC's mom has a point. When she's talking to her saying, yeah, you should probably just sleep with him. I know you want to anyway. Be kind of practical about it anyway. Get it over with. You're going to figure out that it's not a big deal and you're going to move on and to find somebody better. But really, she's not even really encouraging her daughter to go to college and go off and find somebody else other than just find a rich husband. That's the idea. That's what she wants to do.
Her solution basically is do better than I did.
Yeah.
She wants her child to be more successful than herself. It's just that her particular version is a bit bizarre.
Yeah.
But to bring it back to Cloris Leachman. So you said, in the book that this is adapted from, her husband is gay. And when I was looking at her, it's like, yeah, she's just sitting at home all day. She has no children. She's getting older. Like, she's clearly not like a 25-year-old housewife. She's like a 40-something housewife.
Yeah.
The first time anybody shows her any kind of attention or sympathy at all, like, he is uncomfortable when she starts crying in front of him, but she sort of opens the door literally and metaphorically, and he walks through it. So she's like, okay, maybe this is an option.
This is what we're doing. And then going forward in the movie, you can just see the look on her face. She starts to smile. She's so happy to see him.
She has such a physical transformation, Trent.
Totally.
She's totally uptight. Her hair is up. She's in very like 1950s women's, not pantsuit, but a dress suit. And she's got her gloves and her hat, and she's very, restrained. Everything is very like uptight. And then when they start fooling around, she literally lets her hair down and she loosens up and she's telling him about her life. And she says, I don't like this room. It's so ugly. I want to brighten it up. What's your favorite color? You said blue. I'm going to get a new quilt, a blue one. And just smiling and so happy. And then he just fucks right off because someone younger and more beautiful throws themselves at him. And he's a young, dumb kid. So he's like, great. I love that.
Because in this town, if the rich, blonde, pretty chick wants to be with you, you be with her.
And he's even practical about it. He says, she's going to college. What could it hurt? I've got maybe 3 months before she dumps my ass.
Yeah, because, everybody kind of knows what her reputation is in this town.
She is such an attention seeker, but we're going to come back to her.
Yeah.
But he just completely abandons Ruth. And there's that scene where he's clearly supposed to go meet her. And she's like got her hair in curlers and she's so excited. And the next time we see her is after he has just ditched her, completely ghosted her.
Yep.
He shows up at her house the day that Billy dies. And she knows that he died because, of course, everybody knows everything.
Of course.
And she's in her bathrobe and she has been fucking depressed. And she says, I'm sorry. Wait. What the fuck? Why am I apologizing? I have been doing that in my own head about you for literally months, and it's fucking insane. She doesn't say the word, but she describes her situation. She says, I haven't even wanted to get dressed. I've just been in my house watching TV.
She has been depressed for months. She's been angry at him and everything under the sun. There's even a shot here before that where I think it's the day that he's supposed to go and see her. She just goes into that room with the lights off, sitting on the bed waiting for him. So she's got this whole relationship built up in her head so much that when it stops, she's just kind of stuck herself. And Sonny, in this moment at the end of the movie, basically doesn't say a word because he is also very depressed and he is really not wanting to be there, but she is the only connection that he still has to this town.
He doesn't apologize. He doesn't say a fucking word. He just basically is there. And she says, we had something that was great and you ruined it. That door's closed. And in the same moment, he reaches out and touches her hand and she just sort of lets it all go and says, the last lines of the movie, like, it's all going to be okay, basically. Don't worry too much about it. Yeah. It's going to be fine. I don't remember exactly what she said, but it was just, I get it. All of the things have come together. She went on the entire roller coaster in about 3 minutes.
Basically, she is saying to herself and him, you know what? All that other stuff, forget about it because this is the only thing I have. You are my only option for any kind of happiness.
Whatever it is, if it ends up being just this friendship moving forward or what. But I do want to say this while we're still here on Cloris Leachman and then we can move on. She won Best Supporting Actress for this movie. This was one of many, many Academy Award nominations that the movie got. And in that scene, I was like, oh, here's where she is earning this Oscar. I thought she was really good in this movie.
Betsy, I read a story in the trivia about this scene in particular. The director did not want to do any kind of rehearsal for it because he thought it was going to be better just on the screen. They did one take. The director said, print, we're done, and told her, you just won an Oscar. One take is all it took.
I love that. Yeah, she was a great, great actress, but I don't get to see her do dramatic work very much. I'm used to Frau Blücher from Young Frankenstein, where she's completely over the top. But here, she gets to be really repressed and sensitive and angry and just, she is doing a lot of heavy lifting in a way I've not seen before.
And you can see it in every single scene that she's in because when they go onto the bed for the first time, she's kind of hiding her face because she's starting to cry. And she apologizes saying, I don't know why every single thing that I do causes me to cry, whether it's good or bad.
Also, that scene where they're having sex for the first time, that is the squeakiest bed
Oh,
in the
that's
history of cinema.
Maybe one of my favorite moments in the movie. That bed. Okay, I actually slept on a bed just like that for most of my childhood. It was my mother's bed that she inherited.
From like when she was a kid?
It was at least the bed frame, so it's the squeaky part. So I'm very familiar with how those beds squeak. So yes.
Dear God.
Yeah.
There is limited humor in this movie, but when it's funny, it's really funny. And it's shit like that where it's just this real moment. It's a circumstance that you could imagine having had happened to you.
Yeah, totally. There are a lot of really authentic moments in the movie, and that's just one of them. But there's a couple other people here we haven't mentioned yet. Sybil Shepherd, we've mentioned here and there. She is very young in this movie, and she is quite promiscuous, let's say.
Her way of dealing with living in this small town is just trying to find trouble in whatever form that takes. For most of the movie, it's, I have to lose my virginity. Once she does that, she's trying to find other guys to sleep with. Once she's done that, she's trying to get a husband. Then, when she finally is like, oh, that's Sonny, he's available, I'll get married to him. She convinces him on a whim to drive to Oklahoma, and she's like, I'll drive. She's got this really nice car, because again, she's the rich girl. It's that thing that rich girls like to do just to piss off their parents.
Yeah, she leaves a note.
She leaves a note to tell them because she wants to get caught. She doesn't really want to be married to Sonny. She just wants attention. They drive up there. The fucking cops know what they did. They are on the lookout for these two individuals. He says, come with me. And when she's driving past the cop, she passes him and goes, oh, it's going to happen. We're going to get busted. And then when he kind of keeps driving, she gets disappointed. She thinks, oh man, I'm going to have to stay married to this idiot. The cop turns around and she goes, oh no, it's happening. Oh my. Because she wants to be caught. She doesn't want to get married. She just wants the attention. And then when they go back, her parents basically say, no, this marriage doesn't count. They didn't consummate it.
Yep.
It can just get annulled. We're going to pretend this didn't happen. You are not staying married to this guy. And her mom, played by Ellen Burstyn, who I did not know was in this movie, she says, honestly, Sonny, you're lucky we got you away from her as soon as we did.
Yeah.
Like, really, you will thank us in the long run.
And
I know my own daughter.
She has a really great moment here as well where she's talking about, we haven't mentioned Sam either. She tells this story about Sam and the fact that they had a passionate love affair when she was already married to somebody that she didn't want to be fucking married to. And the fact that they were in love, and that's maybe what her life should have been and could have been, but for the fact that she was already married to somebody else, which is another testament to, hey, maybe don't get married when you're fucking 19.
There is just this sadness throughout the movie about the time and the way people had to be. Like, when you got married, that was it. Unless you were lucky enough to have your parents rip you apart before you've consummated this marriage. You're probably staying married to them. And that theme comes up a lot in the movie. And it's kind of a weird thing because I told you I know more about this movie as far as like the behind the scenes stuff, that Peter Bogdanovich, the director, was a married man and his wife worked on this movie. And the theme of the movie is, you shouldn't be married to the wrong people.
Uh-huh.
That feels weird while he's having a very public affair with Sybil Shepherd.
Right. Also, I read in the trivia, Sybil Shepherd and Jeff Bridges had a thing together while they were filming the movie.
Everybody's just fucking each other.
Sybil Shepherd especially is fucking everybody. Which, hey, good for her, but don't be a fucking homewrecker.
But yeah, it's just kind of a weird thing, a weird thematic thing. And if you don't know that, it's not that strange. But once you have that information, it's really hard to ignore it.
You're right. Let's go back to Sam here. Which, by the way, I clocked his voice. I recognized the man's voice as the owner of the baseball team in the Disney movie Angels in the Outfield. He is the stereotypical Texan who owns a baseball team.
because he's a real Texan tramp, clearly. But yeah, I've not seen him young either. He also won an Academy Award for this movie.
Yes, he did. So it's him and Jeff Bridges both being nominated for the same category for the same movie.
But I'm actually okay with this outcome because he is really good.
He is. And at the time he won the Oscar, I don't know if this record has been broken, but he only had about like 9 to 10 minutes worth of screen time. That was the least amount of time. I don't know how to say this, but he had the record of least amount of screen time to win a supporting actor Oscar.
It was a minimal appearance with a lot of punch, basically, for him to win.
He kind of anchors this entire town.
He does. He shows up at the beginning, and he's sort of the one helping these boys along.
He's kind of the authority figure of everybody in the town.
When these two numbskulls decide we're going to go to Mexico.
Right.
You boys like Mexico? That's literally what it is. They wake up, they decide to do it. They've got this piece of shit truck. It's the kind of shit you do when you're young. You and your best friend are going to drive all the way the fuck from near Dallas, Texas to Mexico. Back in the days where they didn't care about passports and border patrol, you could just move.
You could just go.
You could just go. But before they leave, they stop by Sam's and they're like, do you want to come with us? And he even says, you know, if I was younger and crazier, sure, let me give you some money.
Yeah, you got some money. Here's some money to go and have a good time.
Yeah, do you need more money? No, we got plenty of money. You don't need to give us yours. Well, you know, you need an insurance policy. Mexico can get kind of crazy.
Sure, and you know, these boys, they don't have any girlfriends anymore. They're going to basically go down there, get drunk, get laid, and then come back. And the faces these guys have in the truck coming back from Mexico, so great. Jeff Bridges is sweating, wearing the stupid hat, and the other one is just kind of hanging his head, slumping down in his seat like, oh my God, I can't believe we did all that.
They're so hungover. They're really, really sick. And they find out when they get back that Sam died. In the 2 days that they were gone, he had a stroke and just fell over.
Yeah. Found out from some fucking drunk ass just sleeping in his car saying, oh yeah, he left the restaurant to this gal, he left the movie theater to this other gal, and he left the pool hall to you. And then he also said something about he gave $1,000 to the preacher's kid. Something like that. I don't know the rest of the details.
My assumption with that is maybe he knew, because we have this moment where we find out the preacher's kid is a pedophile or a budding, like he's aspiring to be. And this guy maybe knows it because he knows all of these kids and he knows who they're hanging out with and what they're doing.
He kind of becomes the father figure for a lot of these kids too.
Most of them have bad or completely absent fathers.
Yeah.
We only meet Sonny's dad once. By chance, they're at the same Christmas party, and there's like comments about he's not around and he does drugs and
he takes pills.
And Sonny just seems to take care of himself. We never see Sonny's home life. We never go to Sonny's house.
No, we never do. But there's one time that we go to Dwayne's house, and it's just some fucking shack. Like his mother comes to the door. We never go inside, but it's a very small kind of a dwelling here. But yeah.
So yeah, these guys all look up to Sam as their father because no one else is doing it. No one else is showing them how to be a man and do this stuff. And there's that other scene where they go fishing. They go to this watering hole. And Sam tells this story about how he was young and in love once. And that shot, as the camera is just zooming in closer and closer, and we're just isolated on him.
We don't get any cuts whatsoever.
Nope.
It's just him acting.
He's just doing the whole speech. And he gets to the emotional core of the story, and then he says, but that's all in the past, and we back out. And they do that a few times where a few people in the movie tell their story.
Yeah.
But that's the one that's going to stick with you.
They have this twinkle in their eye of real happiness.
What could have been for me.
Yeah.
And it's the lesson of try to find that. Because look, all of us, we've tried and we've failed. All of the adults are kind of failures in this movie. And it's all the kids who have the potential.
In one form or another, yeah. Yeah, the more we talk about this, the more the movie was kind of going on and watching it, the more I really liked it. It is so much better than American Graffiti.
It's so much better than American Graffiti.
Better.
Which is weird because American Graffiti feels more like a fun kind of movie.
Yeah.
Like it's a little faster, it's looser,
I feel like
it's a comedy.
This is a lot more honest.
But this one, there is this sadness to it. But even though it's very upsetting if you sit with it too long, as I said, by the end of the movie, I also found myself smiling. I got invested in the lives of these people. And it snuck up on me. I didn't expect it because at the beginning, I'm like, oh, is this going to be another one of these fucking boring ass 70s movies that we
Yeah.
just have not liked? No, absolutely not. This is on not the first list, but it's on the second batch of the American Film Institute's top 100 movies. It made it when they did the 10-year anniversary. And now I get to check another one off of my list. And I get why it's there. I finally have an understanding of why people talk about this movie. It's weird that more people don't. Like, I feel like if you were to actually revisit this one or give it a little more attention, people would really enjoy this even now. But it's kind of gotten lost in time a little bit as far as I'm concerned, because I didn't know what this was. Like most 70s movies, I can at least fake it. Like I kind of know this person's in it and it's vaguely about this. I knew it was Texas. That's
Okay.
kind of all I had.
And like just based on the title, The Last Picture Show, it says so much about the death of the small town and the death of this way of living. In 1971, looking back on 1951, most of the people who are coming to see this movie, because hey, this movie is rated R, most of the people coming to see this movie, they remember 1951 and what life was like and when they were this age, and maybe they lived in a small town, maybe they grew up in a small town and they got out. But when you compare it to American Graffiti, I think fewer people can relate to a movie like that, because back in the day, there were a lot more small towns and a lot more small town kids.
Yeah, American Graffiti feels much more like you had to be there.
Yeah.
You had to be there. Driving the
I can relate
cars.
to this fucking movie a lot more than I can American Graffiti.
Absolutely. And that title, The Last Picture Show, I'll just end with this thought. At the beginning of the movie, it's literally they're just going to the last showing on the last day. This is the last time you can see it. And then at the end of the movie, it's literally the last showing of the last day of the theater. And when that woman says, I just can't do it by myself, I was getting so upset.
Well,
Like,
she was
really?
also explaining why. During the summer, baseball's going on. Everybody's starting to
Television.
have television in their homes, and that's on constantly. You have to make an event to go and see a picture show, and you got to pay for it every time, too. Television, you buy it once, and it's just there.
And combining that with the fact that Dwayne is leaving the same day, it is such an ending. It is such
Yeah.
you are done with this chapter of your life. Anything that was when you were a kid, your kid time is over. Now you're an adult and you have to figure it out. And it's sad, but it's happy. It's hopeful. How can it be both things? I don't know, because it's kind of a devastating ending,
It
but I
is.
still feel hopeful at the end of it.
Yeah, I can't really explain it either. But Betsy, I only had one other thing I wanted to mention here. It's very early on. It's the scene of all of the kids in the classroom. The teacher in the front is talking about Shakespeare, and you can see on everybody's face, all of the girls, all the ladies are listening intently. They're looking forward, and all of the dudes are daydreaming. They're putting their head on their desk. They're looking outside. None of them are paying attention.
Yeah, Sonny's watching two dogs fuck in the park. Like, that's where his head is.
Sure. But did you have anything else to talk about, Betsy?
We haven't talked about the fact Randy Quaid is in this movie.
Yeah, it's his first fucking movie.
First movie ever, which again makes sense because they've probably used local kids. Anyone who was around
Sure.
to kind of fill the scenery, because they filmed it on location in Texas. They were there for God knows how many weeks. My understanding, they were really isolated. Like, this is a real tiny ass town, really far away from other stuff. So the feelings of having nothing to do and nowhere to go were very real and apparent for the crew as well as the people in the movie.
Yeah. All right, I think that is going to do it for The Last Picture Show. Did you grow up in the 1950s and would like to tell us about your experiences? Ask your grandchildren to send us an email to neverseenitpod@gmail.com. We're running long and it is late and I am quite tired, so I'm going to call this one an episode. If you guys would like some more content from us, Our premium bonus content is at patreon.com/neverseenitpod. We put out 5 extra pieces of content every single month over there. That content costs you $5 a month, but if you got a little bit of extra scratch on you and you want us to cover a movie that we've never covered yet and you don't think that we're ever going to cover it, you can go to our higher tier and ask us to cover any movie under the sun. As long as we haven't already covered it yet, sign up at the higher tier and we will put out an extra episode on this feed just for you.
I mean, it's for everyone, but it's especially for you.
Yes. We will put it out on this feed. It is not exclusively for you, but you get to influence what we do on the show at least once. But with that tier, you also get access to all of the other content as well. So give it a shot. No one's done it yet. But with that, I'm going to say that is the end of the Last Picture Show. But Betsy, we got one more episode of Jefftember left to go. What are we going to be closing out Jefftember with?
We're going to be going our largest leap yet from way in the past, from his very first Oscar nomination with The Last Picture Show. We are going all the way to the future when Jeff Bridges finally took home Oscar gold, because you and I are going to be watching Crazy Heart.
I have not seen Crazy Heart yet, so come back next week for some more country music. We got it a bunch in this movie, so come back next week for the end of Jefftember. Until then, my name is Trent.
My name is Betsy.
We'll catch you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.